Right, good day all. We're moving on to Surah 37, Surah as-Saffat, right? And this is those lined up, right? The book would refer to in our storytelling, we refer to those lined up as sacrifice, right? Those lined up as sacrifice. This is something that we're trying to get away from. It was a thing in the past, right? The concept of sacrifice, and people know we all have to die, and in a sense all of us are sacrificed, but I mean intentionally picking out a person and saying, hey, you are to be the blood sacrifice, or you are to be the fire sacrifice while they're alive, right? That is what the goal is, to stop. All of us have to die one day, right? We are not immortal, and I acknowledge that, everybody acknowledge that that is a thing that is coming, and it will come, right? But it will come when it is ready to come, right? We are trying to, right, stop this thing of picking apart somebody. I choose you to be the sacrifice. I choose you to be the sacrificial lamb. I choose XYZ to be sacrificial lamb, right? We are trying to get away from all that, right? Because that is inevitable and we will die. Everybody knows that, and all of us are in fact sacrifices in some way or the other, right? But I'm referring to you choosing somebody. You are chosen to be a blood sacrifice. That kind of thing, right? We are trying to eliminate that, right? So let's talk, and this chapter is really about, a lot of it is about in reference to God and God being one God. So that's what we'll talk about today, right? And let's just go into the conversation, right? Not in an argumentative way, we're having a discussion, right? We're going into the conversation about the description of God and so on, right? And I want to draw a reference and draw on other philosophies and other writings and other teachings to bring across this point, because there's a we that has made reference to in the Quran constantly, right? And is for people to question, well, I mean, like the typical Muslim who won't go deeper into teachings and so on, right? Well, what is the we, or who is the we if Allah is the only God, right? So the we is actually the deities, right? They would refer to it as angels and so on. The we has a lot to do with the deities, all the different levels of deities that are wrong. Some are evil, some are good, so on, right? Some angels are good, some evils, some angels are evil, some angels are good, right? Angels and demons, right? That's what we're dealing with, right? Angels and demons, really, right? So that is the we that is being referred to, angels and demons, right? So when you talk, so I shared a video on WhatsApp today. It was a Shiva video, and I want to clear up this because some people might be thinking I'm confused, right? I'm confused. On one hand I'm saying, well, Allah is one, one God, right? Then I'm sharing something with Shiva, right? And it might be contradicting the book, but the book kind of contradicts itself on that. But I'm clarifying all these things and drawing on different teachings to wrap it up. Let's wrap up this religious conversation, right? Because the Quran is actually about wrapping it up, right? Wrapping up the cycle and so on, right? So Shiva is one of whom you might consider an angel, right? Is a deity, can be considered an angel, right? Shiva, the message from Allah, right? The message from the one God is channeled through Shiva to disseminate into the world, right? So we're moving beyond what? Worshipping of idols in a physical form, right? Moving beyond worshipping of idolatry, meaning you're doing arti and so on over a statue, right? So this is for the Hindu population, as also for the Christian population, who say that Jesus, the Christ, is Lord, right? I'm not going to say it. I would spell it out. I'm not going to say it, and nobody could get me on the face of the planet to repeat that phrase, right? I do not want to say it. I will never say it in my life, even on my dying bed. I will not say it. So do not try to force me through any program you are doing to force me to repeat certain things, right? I do not believe that any deity is actually God or the Lord, right? So moving on, speaking to the Hindu and Christian population and tying up this religious conversation, right? The message from Allah would have been channeled through the Christ figure to convey to the world. The message from Allah would have been conveyed to the Shiva form, Shiva character, to transfer into the world. So if you all watch a video called Nirvana Shatakam, right? That video speaks about the description of Allah, and it is the exact description of Allah that is in accordance with Islam, meaning it is a formless being, without eyes, without intellect, without memory, without hands, without legs, without whatever, right? Allah is that description without any physical, not even mind, nothing like that. No memory, no nothing like that, right? No intellect, nothing like that. Allah is formless and is absolute formless, right? Absolute formless, right? And that is what Shiva, who conveyed that message, which is same way a messenger Christ figure descend to convey that message, same way all other messengers would have came to convey that message, right? So we're moving beyond the worshipping of a non-conscious being, an idol, right? Non-living entity, right? And you acknowledging the creator of the universe as actually formless in nature, right? So that's really what this topic is about. Now, my bone to pick with Islam is that they keep referring to people as dirty and dirty polytheists and so on, and render people as contemptible, right? As in this chapter describes, right? That's not the way you treat with things and people, right? If people have culturally been inheritors of certain cultures and forms of worship, right? And they are ignorant it at a particular point in time, that is not the way to deal with that situation, right? And I'm not here to judge anybody and tell anybody, oh, this is right or wrong or whatever like that. In that sense, I'm just saying the way that you are treated with it, and that's why people saying that the book should not change and all that, right? I actually wish I could rewrite this book, right? If I have one desire, it would be to rewrite this book, but I cannot, right? I do not have the authority to do that, right? One, I did not do further or deeper research into Islam, and I'm not interested in it, right? And secondly, I don't have the spiritual authority to rewrite the Quran, right? So moving on. So the we, right? Some of the we, right, would have led others to a form of deviation, different forms of deviation in the world, whether it's evils and entertainment, whether it's with regard to your sexuality, whether it's regard to whatever it is, the things that you eat, right? Some of the we, angels or demons, would have led people to forms of deviation. The Quran is about bringing people back, right? Bringing people back to God, bringing people back to Allah, right? That's it. Like I say, I'm not going to sit down here and read word for word because that doesn't make sense, right? So the book talks about alcohol, right? In a sense, and in a way, it is talking about alcohol being now I don't want to say this because I might get further attack for it, but anyhow, the point is, and I'm not talking in reference to the book, I'm just saying the point is to be moderate in what you do, right? There's no point in cutting off X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G till the 26 letters of the alphabet, because you end up cutting out God itself, right? There's no point in cutting out A, B, C, D, E, F, G till it's Z, right? To live a saint life, because you will end up cutting off God itself, right? And I hope people understand what I'm saying, right? You have to be moderate in your lifestyle, right? There are certain things people drink now and then, there are certain things people eat now and then, there are certain things people do, and it is a form of moderation. And that's why I actually can appreciate this way of life, because it teaches moderation in your way of being, right? And that's one of the things that I could appreciate about the way of life, right? So the book itself, with reference it, talks about cups of wine being circulated amongst people and so on, righteous people and so on, right? The book says no bad effect in there will it be, nor will people be intoxicated, meaning that you don't drink to get drunk. If you're having a drink, have one drink, have two drinks, right? You don't drink to get drunk and get on like a freaking like to cause abuse to anybody else, right? You don't drink to cause violence, domestic violence, or harm towards anybody else. If you're a social drinker, you have one drink, two drink, and cut off that, right? And that's a suggestion, right? You don't sit down and drink a case of beers, right? You don't get so depressed and sit down and drink a case of beers, right? You don't sit down and drink how much ever, right? Whoever you're lying with, and this would cause people to lose friends or all kind of thing. But if you drink, be a moderate social drinker, right? Drink not because you need to drink to socialize, but drink because, hey, we're in a certain long time, we didn't see each other, let's just have something to drink, right? Something like that. Not because you need to drink to fit in with anybody else, right? So that's that. Well, see how apply because people will come down to me with regard to smoking because I hate smoking. I have a hatred for seeing people smoke, but it is your preference. If you want to smoke once a month, you smoke once a month, right? It's nobody business, right? Right. So do you worship that which yourself carve, right? Meaning the idols itself. So not to worship. Humans created idols, right? Humans created humans, therefore we worship neither idols nor humans, right? This chapter talks about supporting people so that they overcome, right? You know, somebody going through a hard time or something, you be there for them, you support them, right? You be there for people, you support them, right? Somebody going through a rough time, right? Regardless of religious difference, ethnic difference, whatever difference it is. You know somebody going through a hard time, you provide a form of support, whatever that form of support might be, it might be different for us all, right? But you simply just provide us support, right? You exalted as Allah above what is described, right? So even the description by Shiva, even the description in the Quran by based on what Allah is, right? The book notes that Allah is actually beyond those descriptions itself, right? We with our finite minds could only start to perceive what it might be, right? But Allah itself is beyond all description, right? So you cannot tempt anybody away from Allah, right? So those who know their journey, know their path, they can't be swayed, right? You can't be swayed in your practice and what you believe. You will not sway. You cannot be tempted. Once you acknowledge this truth and acknowledge the path and acknowledge the truth, there's nothing that could come that would tempt you, right? You would turn it down, right? Nothing that could come to you that would say, hey, this or make itself attractive to your eyes, right? In the form of temptation, right? So peace be upon everybody who has delivered, is delivering, and will deliver a message, right? Take care, everybody.